Hello everyone and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Fakes YouTube channel. My name's FPL Phillips or Eddie and today is another episode of Eddie versus the Algorithm, the series here on FPL YouTube where we're putting a man up against a machine for each game week of the FPL season and seeing at the end of the campaign which one can win more game weeks, myself or the Fantasy Football Fakes algorithm. So if you're new around here and that sounds exciting to you, make sure to subscribe for following along with this series. Leave a thumbs up if you do enjoy the video as well. You guys probably know the score by now. Let's get into having a look at a quick recap as to how things went down in game week 7. And I had a pretty good lead heading into this game week. In fact, my lead was 5-1, and this is how the algorithm team did. It scored 64 points, which in all wasn't too bad of a score. It did have the luxury of being able to go with many Luton assets and some Burnley players as well, including the Morris captaincy, which was a nice call in the end, going with him over Erling Haaland. Elsewhere, though, there weren't too many successes. Trippier with 12 and Bowen with 9 were probably the standouts of the bunch. Roberts coming off the bench with 5 points due to Botman missing out as well, was also not too bad. But yeah, overall, not the most overwhelming performance from the algorithm. And in fact, I did manage to extend my lead over the algorithm this game week. The score is now 6-1 in the series after the 7 game weeks. I scored 71 points, largely thanks to the call in midfield where I meant with Martin Odegaard. Now, a little bit of a jammy one, that one, due to the fact that, we never know the penalty situation. On another day, Saka could have taken 2 or maybe even all 3 penalties that Arsenal got. Or the 2 penalties that Arsenal got, I should say, in that game. Saka, of course, scored from open play with the first goal of the fixture. But yeah, Odegaard took the penalty nonetheless. A fantastic performance from him with multiple returns. Also had Bowen, and despite not putting the armband on Morris, I did end up coming out on top. Wilson missing out meant I got Egued 6 points off the bench as well for West Ham. So going with him in the end ended up being a pretty decent call up against Sheffield United. So overall, very happy with that. Another win over the computer. It's looking a bit worse for wear at the moment. It's going to want to try and get one back at me in game week 8, a week where a lot of people are wildcarding, so I'm very interested to have a look at the algorithm team and the best players it's suggesting going into game week 8. So I won't keep you guys waiting. Let's get into having a look at how the computer team is looking for game week 8. And the predicted points total for this week is 59 points. Let's see who the algorithm has decided to go with. It's a 4-4-2 formation this week, which is a little bit different to what we've seen so far this season. So, there's not too many teams keeping clean sheets. It is a little bit braver to go with a 4-4-2 formation. But let's see if the algorithm's managed to pick some defenders that I, at least, am rating for this week. In goal, it's chosen to go with Leno, who seems a very logical pick to go for, given how Leno's performed so far this season. I mean, he does tend to do well in games where he's facing a lot of shots, in fact, and you're hoping that maybe this won't be one of those games, as Fulham are taking on Sheffield United at home, one of the worst attacks in the league. So a good chance of a clean sheet in that one for Fulham is what the algorithm is predicting. And in fact, it doesn't end there, because in the defence, we've got another Fulham defensive asset in the form of Ream coming in. He's predicted 4.7 points for this game week. And the other defenders might surprise a few people. So Colwill does come in, which is an interesting one. We've then got Anderson, who I also really rate as a pick as well, just due to the fact that, he's scoring a lot of goals so far this season. He's scored a few. He's got a few attacking returns elsewhere as well. He overall just looks quality, and we know how good he's been for bonus points in the past as well. But he's doubled up alongside Mitchell in this backline for the algorithm side. And Colwill is one who, spoilers alert, I'm actually thinking about going for in my own team. So we'll see that side in just a moment. But yeah, Colwill, Burnley away. Chelsea keeping a few more clean sheets recently. Playing that kind of left-back role now that Chilwell is missing out. Perhaps, not having Chilwell on the side might lend Chelsea to actually being a little bit better defensively due to how advanced he was playing, and maybe kind of Colwill being in that left back role where he is more of a defender. And I know they're still playing Mudryk in that kind of role where Chilwell was deployed as more of a left wing than actually a left back. But yeah, Colwill has still, I think, overall improved the Chelsea defence coming in this season, and I think at times they've looked better defensively as of late. So maybe James and Chilwell not being in the side might actually lend it to some more clean sheets for the Blues. I'm hoping it'll be that way anyway, as I put Colwill in my own team for this week, and the algorithm is certainly backing maybe a clean sheet for Chelsea in that one too. We've then got a midfield four, which looks like the following. We've got Mohamed Salah, we've got James Maddison, and then Kulusevski and Heung-min Son. So going with a triple Spurs midfield as opposed to going with any defenders in that kickoff that's at 12:30 on the Saturday lunchtime. So never about the kickoffs, what Gandhi says. Well, the algorithm is definitely doing that because it's gone for that triple Spurs mids, which I quite like all of. Now, the news has come out today, as I'm recording this on Wednesday evening, that Solomon is going to be out for quite a while for Spurs. 2 to 3 months, I think, is the quoted injury timeline. So, in that vein, I think Richarlison looks like a pretty decent pick as well. Kulusevski's underlying data, which I've looked at using the OptaStats tool on the Fantasy Football Fix website, doesn't look the best in any sense. And now Richarlison, if he continues to play out on the left-hand side, I think actually looks a lot better from the eye test anyway. And Son through the middle, we know how good he has looked. James Maddison also looks nice, so I'd probably be considering going with Richarlison ahead of Kulusevski, but that's just my analysis. I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments, if you're willing to leave that. And then we've got Mohamed Salah. Now, Estepinian, another one who looks like he'll be out for a extended period of time. I think the quoted time for him is around 1 month, which means that Brighton are pretty short of left-back options as of now. Tariq Lamptey will probably be the one who starts there and has been subbed on for Estepinian at times. He's priced at 3.9 million, so maybe a few people might end up going for him. But Brighton's fixtures over the next two don't look too impressive. You're then probably going to get one game out of Lamptey in game week 10 where Brighton have a nice fixture. But then by game week 11, you're looking around the point where Estepinian might be returning anyway. So it's not looking the best for going for Lamptey. And you know, Brighton don't have too many other left-back options outside of him. They've got the new centre-back who's brought in who can play out there as well, but they're a little bit worse for wear on the left-hand side of the defence, and they concede a lot of chances down there, even with Estepinian in the side. So, Mohamed Salah, he's going to be the one attacking down that flank in that game against Brighton, who have already been conceding a lot of goals, and now you kind of only assume with logic that maybe it might get even worse for them. So, Salah is definitely a player that I'm very worried about not owning in my own personal team this week, and it makes it all the more better option for him in game week 8. And I think that Estepinian kind of injury news does even tempt me that even slight bit more towards maybe even considering putting the armband on Salah over going for someone like a Son, or the man who the algorithm's captaining, which is going to be, once again, Erling Haaland, predicted to score 6.0 points. As we saw in yesterday's video where I did my team reveal and we looked at the captaincy discussion, Haaland is the top predicted point scorer of this game week despite going up against Arsenal. We've then got Ollie Watkins, Wolves away, one who many people are opting to go for on the wildcard, so they'll probably be pleased to see him in over the likes of Alvarez, well, at least for this game week, but I still think Alvarez is a great punt, and, well, not great punt, he's a great pick at this point, and yeah, we've seen him doing some damage in the Champions League off the bench as well as I'm recording this. On the bench this week is going to be Wilson, Tarkowski, and Archer, so interesting to go with another Fulham asset down there on the bench. It's not Callum, it is Harry Wilson. We've then got James Tarkowski, Everton going up against Bournemouth this week, of course, and then Archer, Fulham away. A pretty nice fixture where I think some people are even considering maybe even starting him this week. And I think you definitely could. If you're a little bit worse for wear, maybe you were going to start Estepinian and you can afford to take a defender out, still have 3 defenders in and play Archer, or maybe even playing Archer over another striking option could be a possibility. You know, maybe Sheffield United will be able to put the ball in the back of the net, and that Leno pick might not end up being so great. But let's have a look at my team anyway. I've already given you a spoiler as to 1 or 2 of the players, but Colwell is in my side, as we've seen. He's alongside Cash and Pedro Porro, who I've chosen to go for. I actually think Udogie is probably still marginally the better asset, but Pedro Porro is one who's in good form at the moment, and I fancy a bit of a punt on him, which I'm able to take in these kind of series. I'm able to take a few more outside-the-box punts. Now, Diaby in my midfield is one that I am a little bit worried about, because there is some injury news on him that he might not be able to make the weekend. Now, the midweek games, it's not looking good for him. Whether he'll make it at the weekend, I've got Archer down there on the bench, who I kind of mentioned that I'm happy to play anyway, so at the moment, I'm sticking with Diaby in my side. We'll see how that goes and whether Archer is going to be required, but still feeling relatively positive about that one. I've then got Son as the captain, Maddison in my midfield as well, alongside 2 Liverpool assets, so Luis Diaz and Salah, kind of reinforcing what I said about the Brighton defence looking a little bit poor and kind of targeting on that for this game week. I've then gone with another punt up front, so I've gone with Solanke alongside Erling Haaland in my side, who I've still managed to squeeze in. On the bench, I've got Archer, as mentioned, alongside Lascelles and Lamptey, who both look like cheap defensive options who people are considering going for. We've already discussed Lamptey and my thoughts on him, but Lascelles, you know, playing in the Champions League, put in a pretty good performance in that Newcastle very impressive win over Paris Saint-Germain. I mean, he's obviously a ticking time bomb until Botman comes back and he slots in alongside Fabian Schär. But, you know, I'm sure he'll start against West Ham, and if he's required, he'll be down there on the bench. I'm not sure I would be going for him on the wild card either. I think you're probably better off just taking your pick at the 4.0s or Taylor or someone who is actually starting. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on the kind of cheap defenders that are looking like options at the moment anyway. Thank you very much for tuning into this video. That is going to wrap up this episode of Eddie versus the algorithm. As always, make sure to leave a comment down below as to who you think is going to come out on top. Do you think I'll be able to get one over the computer once again and make it 7-1 in the series? If so, we might have to have a little bit of a tweak of the algorithm because the numbers clearly ain't numbering at the moment, given that my little old brain is able to outclass it just as I am. But yeah, anyway, I hope to catch you in the next episode of this series where I will recap how everything went down in Game Week 8 and have a look, of course, at the Game Week 9 team when that does come around. But until then, I wish you all the best and I hope to catch you in the next one. Goodbye.